Okay, thank you everybody for joining me for this PowerPoint presentation of AmerIcan in the Dominican Republic. Now, as we prepare for our journey to the DR, I think it's important for you all to realize that you're in for quite a culture shock. The first time in the DR for me was, I was pretty shocked to see all the poverty. Many of the homes were no more than tin sheets stacked up against each other, and I remember driving through some of these smaller towns doing about 65 miles an hour, and I could have literally reached out the window and touched the doors of some of the houses that we were passing. Right here you can see, here's Santo Domingo. It's the capital in the middle. Oh, sorry about that. Let me get back here. Santo Domingo is the capital of the Dominican Republic, and it's on the island of Hispaniola, right next to Haiti. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Goal for this trip. It's very important to make a good impression. Making a good impression on this trip could open the doors for AmerIcan to expand our interest in the Dominican Republic. That's huge. That's the whole purpose. We can do this through building relationships and being respectful to everyone we meet. Now, I know that this trip may be a little bit intimidating for some of you, or maybe all of you. I felt the same way on my first trip. Fortunately for me, I had a great mentor and guide who prepared me well, and now I'm going to do the same for you. Here's a picture from my last trip, and you can see some of the housing down there. Quite different from what we experience here in the United States. Now, goals for this presentation. We're going to go through some of the background information about the Dominican Republic, some of the cultural differences you might see, and then some basic business etiquette. So, the DR became a nation on February 27, 1844, after reclaiming power over Haitian rule. It's got a very bloodied history and a lot of tension, and they continue to have a strained relationship with Haiti. And they use some of their beautiful beaches as tourism, and that happens to be the leading foreign exchange. As you saw in the picture, the Dominican Republic occupies about 2/3 of the island of Hispaniola on the easternmost side, west of Puerto Rico and east of Cuba. The Santo Domingo is the capital, and as you see in this picture, it has a beautiful coastline. That's me on the left there. There's about 8.4 million people, West African slaves, natives, and Spanish and European descent, or descendants of the original Spanish and European settlers. Spanish is also the official language, and we use, the words bueno and hola are both accepted greetings when you're meeting somebody there. Now that we've discussed some of the history of the DR, let's talk about some of the cultural differences you're going to encounter on this trip here. First of all, gender roles. That's a big one. Women are seen as subordinate to men and more as sex objects and home takers than as equals. So, often you'll see, a woman may be out making a living and then come home, and it's still her responsibility to take care of the house and take care of the children and take care of the cooking. People also tend to focus more on relationships than schedules. You can often be held up much longer. If you go for an hour meeting, you can find yourself there all day. The DR is considerably less developed than the U.S., and there's some extreme poverty in many areas. Now let's take some of what we've learned here and apply it to our trip. It's important for us to have good personal and business etiquette the entire time we are down there. So getting right into etiquette. When first meeting another man, maintain eye contact and have a slightly firm handshake. It's okay to let that handshake kind of linger a little bit longer than you would here in the States, and it's also okay to reach out and lightly grab the elbow of the person you're shaking hands with. Maintaining good grooming and dressing dark medium colored suits, conservative attire is suggested. Dominicans also tend to be very direct in their conversation and will ask you about your family, your age, children, Often they will ask very personal questions on the very first time they meet you. So here with communication, definitely avoid topics of politics, religion, and relations with Haiti, especially with people you just met. Humor and laughter should be used whenever possible. Dominicans prefer eye contact and will usually stay within 1 to 2 feet of each other while talking. They like to stay close. And, it's also acceptable to be interrupted while speaking, so don't take that personally or be offended if somebody cuts you off. Plan for small talk. We're not just going to jump into business. They don't like hard sells. It's all about relationship building. Dominicans can be very animated as well. Do not confuse this with aggression or with anger during talks. Just kind of take it as it comes. Now, our focus will be on building relationships and not hard sell tactics. Like I just wanted to reiterate that, like I shared on the first line. Now, through this presentation, we have learned many things about the Dominican history, its culture, proper etiquette for while we're down there. Let's try to remember these things while on our trip, and especially some of the etiquette while we're in the company of our hosts. In conclusion here, just keep this with you. Be respectful, be open-minded, build relationships, and be ready for some culture shock. Take some time to really let the message of this presentation sink in. If we all open our minds and accept that we're going to see and hear some things that we may not understand, then perhaps you won't be as shocked as I was when I first went down. I am confident that armed with this new information, we will soon be celebrating our relationship with the new Dominican Republic sister company. Thank you very much.